Well, good afternoon. I am happy you're here today, keeping connected with the policy work of BHI. And just a reminder, I do record the meetings, so I will be recording this meeting today for those who aren't able to join us. And then I'll sure to send that video link out in the upcoming BHI Network Policy Digest. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our land acknowledgement. We would like to open this convening by recognizing that we are on the unceded ancestral land of the Coast Salish peoples, the traditional home of all the tribes and bands within the Duwamish, Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. We cannot work to fulfill our mission and our vision of an anti-racist present if we don't first acknowledge and recognize the true history and the cost of colonization. However, acknowledgement is only a very first step, and we urge you to engage in accountable relationships and informed actions. So just a few quick announcements. As always, please be sure to send me some updates for our policy digest that comes out each Friday. Updates good for the whole. I look to you to stay informed on the news for our shared priority to increase, maintain, and sustain Black homeownership. And now that we are almost, as of end of day today, whenever they stop, at the end of the legislative session, there will be more room in our digests in these next whiles to go ahead and share some of the going-ons that can help us all continue to learn together and create connections with one another as we do this policy work together. And we also want to celebrate milestones that are happening for all of you and achievements that are keeping us all inspired. So please do reach out, just send me an email if there's something that you would like to have in a Friday Digest. If you can get it to me Thursday before noon, I'd really appreciate it. If not, send it anyway, and if I can fit it in, I will. And then a second announcement is HDC is holding an informal end of session celebration tomorrow. It's going to be at Stoop Brewery in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. And the first 30 attendees will get a free drink. And you can register at the HDC website or come and show up. Raise a glass to our successes, or, shed a tear in your beer for your losses in the legislative session. And I do hope to see some of you there. As you all know, I do believe it is important to mark transitions and achievements and refresh after concerted effort. We always need to be refilling the well. And so I'm going to be out of town at the end of March to recharge after a hectic state session. And I hope that you all will find whatever way you can to recharge as well. It's all about the stamina, and this work will continue. So make sure you're taking care of yourselves. And then last but not least, I just wanted to say thank you all. Thank you all so much for what you do, your excellent advocacy during the legislative session. You continue to sign in pro, you continue to reach out to your legislators, you continue to raise your hand to sign up and do testimony, whether that's down in Olympia or remotely, or writing it up and sending it in. And so, you're keeping our homeownership policy framework in front of leaders, and you're making it clear that we're committed to creating opportunities for Black homeownership. And we will keep showing up, but I just wanted to thank you all because you are the change that you want to see. So in our time together today, we're going to start with an icebreaker. I know we're all eager to always hear about kind of the policy side here, but we're going to take a few minutes to hear from one another. The session is set to end today at whatever hour, no one can tell you, but it is set to end by midnight. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that during our icebreaker. And then after we share, we are going to move into updates on the state bills that are in our framework. We have 4 members from our BHI Network Policy Strategy Group who will be running through the wins and losses in our different policy categories. And just a reminder, the strategy group is a smaller group of people. They've raised their hand. They are wanting to focus on the policy work of BHI. They're ambassadors for that work. And it's really a great opportunity for them to be able to introduce themselves to all of you and then help us go through our homeownership policy framework and understand the impact that we're making on the state level. And I think we should have plenty of time kind of for the download on the specifics of policies, but we'll also leave some room for your insights. So please feel free to raise your hand and participate when opportunities arise as the presenters move through. And as always, we're going to end our meeting with a few minutes of open floor time to hear important news from you. So feel free to use that space to share the news that is for the good of the whole. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a few minutes to get into our icebreaker. So many of you are actively involved in the state legislative session, and it would be great to hear your reflection on this year's, kind of short 60-day session. It's also great to hear from others who are actively outside of the session to get their perspective. Sometimes when you're really involved in session, it's hard to get a bigger view. So please, feel free to chime in as well. Just share that for me, the short session is really akin to a roller coaster ride. Used to love those when I was young. Can't say I love them so much now, but it's lots of quick twists and turns and a good dose of anxiety. And it's also a bit sad in a short session when you see a bill that is so close to completing, knowing how much effort took to get where it is, and then you see it run out of time and die. So I'm going to remark again, just, on for me for session, the one thing that I did appreciate this year is there seemed to be a little less intensity in the swagger of those who were emboldened by the presidential results last year. Last year was a really rough session. So I was happy to see a little bit of a toning down for that and thankful for that. So I'm going to open it to the floor. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
I'll go. Hi, Bambi.
Hi.
So, I only got down to Olympia this year during the January Low Income Housing Alliance Had Day, which was awesome. But the thing that I took away this year was District 21, the district where I live, has fewer civilians participating, but our electeds in Snohomish County are really kicking ass and taking names. And I was getting emails and text messages from some of my elected officials after 10:30 at night. And that's a function of they're busy doing their leadership roles in their various groups. And they're responding to me because I've poked. And um, I was glad it was only 60 days because again, I feel exhausted, but but it was definitely recognizing some changes in who represents Snohomish County.
Thanks for sharing that, Kim. And I don't think people often realize, they sign up for 60 days. That's 60 days. They don't tell you the hours of the 60 days or that you're going to get the weekends off. It's 60 days. So, yep, that clock just keeps running. Is there anyone else who would like to take a few minutes and just, share how they're feeling here, either at the end of session or during the session, or their impression of just, thinking about state legislation this year? Feeling quiet this morning. I
I
guess
can
it's this
share.
afternoon.
This is Amanda. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm happy to just like share a little bit because I think this session was the first time that I hadn't gone down to Olympia. And I've been involved in this process for gosh, like 10 years now. And this one is the first time that I feel like there's so many people doing stuff around housing, which is fantastic. It's been nice to be able to kind of like sit back. I mean, I don't say like that lightly, but like take a step back and like be able to rely on the amount of information that's flowing from all of our housing partners. Like people are so engaged. It's really motivating to see and like being able to help out where I can within my capacity. Um, Yeah, it was really cool. So just like so much appreciation for everything that you do, Bambi, and like everybody else on these calls, like to share information because we're all so busy doing our own things, but where we can make a difference, I feel like it's so important. And so yeah, it was a little bit of a different take for me, but I know it was no less crazy. Uh, but just really happy that the community of advocates that we've built around ourselves is really being very effective. So that's all.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Amanda. And I love that for you. You have so much on your plate. So if any of that can be ameliorated at all, then I'm glad to hear it. All right, well, we probably have time for just one other person who might want to do a little bit of a sharing. So, feel free to unmute and share your reflection on the legislative session.
Hi, Bambi. This is Emily over at the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. And I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our colleagues and supporters who worked on the foreclosure fairness trailer bill that worked to make sure that folks with low income and receiving down payment assistance or other forms of assistance aren't paying an $80 fee multiple times. And I'm just really thrilled that advocates were able to secure long-term funding for foreclosure prevention in our state. That's such a huge lift. And I think that we should all be really proud of the work that we've done over, to be honest, what's the last 3 years to get this project up and off the ground. And so I'm just really grateful for everybody's support and thrilled to be a part of that team.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Emily. And that is definitely one of the wins on our framework. So we're going to hear a little bit more about it as well. Cliff.
Yeah, I just really want to echo that. I was sharing this with my colleagues earlier. We did kind of an internal roundup, and the way that home ownership funding and supports for home ownership have grown over the last several years has been remarkable. And we still have ways to go, but from competitive funding we got during the supplemental to what we're expecting or hoping for, down the line, and also some new competitive funding that we got around mobile manufactured homes, preservation infrastructure. Um, yeah, I'm knock on wood. I don't want to jinx anything because we still have to make it through today. But I am just really remarkable, and I am still, even though I've transitioned to this side of the veil, in awe of the work that you guys, all of you, as advocates have done. So keep up the good work.
Thanks for those great words, Cliff. And I think with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward. So as I said before, we have members of the BHI Network Policy Strategy Group who are here today to help us run through the 18 state bills that were active this year that we were tracking, following, advocating for. And so what we're going to do is kind of run through those just kind of category by category. And we're going to start here with zoning and regulatory reform. So just a reminder, these bills meaningfully increase supply and access to affordable homes for first-time homebuyers. And this category had the largest amount of bills of the categories this year, and that was 7 total. And Sophie Glass is going to be walking us through these bills and offer some space for your reflections when possible. Sophie, please get us going, and I'll run the slideshow. If I'm, too fast or too slow, let me know.
Sounds good. Bambi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. So I'm going to take an extra moment for an introduction just because this has been the first year that Arch has had a staff member with the ability to participate in these conversations. So for those of you who I don't know, Sophie Glass, I'm with Arch, which is a governmental organization that brings together cities in East King County to promote affordable housing. And probably when many of you think of East King County, you think of diverse, inclusive, affordable communities with a strong Black and African American presence. And that is for very good reason, because this area has historically been really exclusive. Probably historically, most people in this area have looked like me as a white woman. And so Arch recognizes the fact there's, 1,400 plus covenants, racially restrictive covenants that have been documented recently. Many of the cities around here were sundown towns, and to say nothing of other forms of expulsive or exclusionary zoning. And so part of our work as Arch is to really start repairing those harms and opening up more doors for Black and African American families here. So with that, I am very grateful to be here to report out as a government affairs person with Arch about zoning and regulatory reform. Um, I think we did pretty well in this category, Bambi. There were 7 bills in total and 5 were wins. I'm not great at math, but that's pretty good. And I want to note that the 2 lead bills here that we have were both from the Scalable Starter Home production team. So just a great example about how collaboration and thought partnership can then lead to some legislative proposals. So the first one is House Bill 2151 by Representative Manjaris, and this was around factory-built housing standards. My understanding is that it aligns national housing standards with state standards, and this just gives potential offsite affordable or home building factories more assurance, security, and certainty to do their work. And so this holds a lot of promise. This was a win. I love the firework there, Bambi. The one that was maybe not the win, or not maybe, it was not the win, was Senate Bill 6015 by Senator Bateman. And, this would have created permit-ready residential building plans. There was a lot of great thought behind this. Could there be plans where local jurisdictions have to say yes in making this happen? We just couldn't get this one over the finish line. But my understanding is that there's a lot of energy and excitement to bring this back in 2027, and that if anyone wants to be part of that effort, they should reach out to Bambi. So I want to just actually pause and just give it space. These were not the bills that Arch focused on, so I'm not the subject matter expert, but if anyone in the room has anything they want to say about the factory-built housing standards and that alignment and that certainty, or the permit-ready residential plans and how everyone's going to gear up and make this a reality in the future, I'll just take a minute and see any thoughts or comments or corrections for that matter on what I said. Okay.
This is Kathy McCall with AARP.
Yeah.
We're definitely interested in the 6015. We worked on it a little bit, but it wasn't really on, our top priority list, but it's something we would definitely love to work on more. When we worked on the ADU bill a few years back, this was an issue that had surfaced as we were talking to consumers, especially older adults who wanted to, move, build a property, but then realized how expensive it was. And if they had these permit-ready residential plans, it reduced the cost significantly. So it's something that we've been tracking and monitoring for like 5 years, but just didn't prioritize it, didn't see it really kind of soon enough. It was probably there, but I just wasn't tracking it early enough.
This is Rico Kiddingdongo, Director, Office of Planning and Community Development, City of Seattle. We would all, because we have our AD Universe program, which is pre-permitted plans, and we're kind of working on AD Universe 2.0. I would love to be a part of supporting 6015 in its next iteration. So add me to the list, please.
Absolutely. And, the starter home team is, hard at work doing lots of things. They have some money in the budget this year to be able to make sure they can do a demo project to try and really demonstrate more of these ideas. But they'll definitely be working during the interim. So, Kathy, Rico, I'd be happy to make sure that they have your contact info and they loop you in as they begin to do that work during the interim.
Thank you.
Just one quick call out on this. I think next year when we look at this again, I think a key question will be whether this applies just to factory-built housing or to stick-built housing. The version we looked at this last session was factory-built. only. And I think, you know, we debated at the time whether that was the right approach or whether it should be broader. I think clearly it would have a, you know, could have a bigger impact if it included stick in the way that Seattle's program does. But I think that'll be a key question as we look at it next year.
And Aaron's really active in the team. So, you know, you will be seeing more of Aaron as you have these conversations. And it sounds like you've already got a starting one there.
Great. Anyone else? All right, so pausing from these lead bills really focused on factory built related housing issues. Let's just shift there to the support items. So the first fireworks support item that was successful here was House Bill 1859, sponsored by Representative Salahuddin. And this would allow mixed income housing on faith-owned land. Many of you know that there was passed legislation that allowed for incentives and bonuses if faith-owned land was for 100% affordable housing. That just did not move the needle and allow for more of these units to be built. So this was a kind of a creative follow-on to that said, if 50% of the land of a bill, land of faith-owned land was for low-income people, they could have a density bonus, and or if 20% of the land was for very low-income people, they could have that density bonus as well. And this bill states pretty clearly that if a faith-owned organization requests this zoning change from their city or jurisdiction, that the jurisdiction has to comply. So there's a little bit more oomph or teeth with that one. So anyone want to have any comments, questions, recognition that this could really be a potential benefit for Black churches looking to develop and carry out their mission in terms of affordable housing or allow them some more financial stability? Cliff, yeah.
Yeah, 1859, 1859, there's a couple of appropriations for, it's not specifically a Black church, but Orchard Gardens, that project, if memory serves, is on faith-owned land. And I mean, this is going to be a major boom to some of the projects that got direct appropriations like that. But also, uh, there's something on the tip of my tongue, but I'll get back to it. But just definitely second that. That was one of the bills that, at least within the home ownership unit, that we were monitoring and looking at, as well as 6091.
Great. Thanks for that, Cliff. Anybody else? All right, let's talk about one of the issues that I find myself nerding out a lot about, which is elevators. When I joined the affordable housing community, I was amazed about how prohibitive elevators could be in terms of developing housing. So this bill, Senate Bill 5156, this was by Senator Solomon, and this allows for buildings that are 6 stories or less to provide smaller scale elevators that still meet federal safety and disability standards. And so this just allows more affordability, more choice, and this is coming just in time as a lot of missing middle housing is going to come online. I understand that the Sightline Institute team has been doing a lot of work around this, so congrats to them. And I'll pause again to see if anyone has anything they want to clarify or commend about this bill.
Hey,
Yeah, Dorsal.
it's okay.
You can go ahead first, Aaron.
Oh, no, you go. I'll jump in next.
I just wanted to ask, so yesterday I was talking about this bill with the group, and there was a question. So I know disability standard, and it mentions federal safety, but does that include the ability for a paramedic team to fit a fully stretched out gurney and also have 2 medical technicians with the gurney in the elevator?
We have a Sightline team member here. I guess that's some serious detail on the bill. I remember this question being part of what was happening during the debates and during testimony. I know that the elevators that have been approved are ones that do have approval. They're smaller versions. They're kind of common all
Can
throughout.
other people hear Bambi? I can't hear Bambi as well.
Is that better?
Better, yeah. You
Okay.
just started to fade out there a bit.
Sorry. I was saying, Dorsal, I don't have a specific answer to your question. I know that it had been asked. I do understand that these elevators are used very frequently in other locations around the world. But I'd be happy to connect you with someone from Sightline if no one else in the room happens to have that one today.
Sounds like a
The
good one for Sightline.
and the Northwest Universal Design Council was the one asking the question, so I'd love to, like, happy to be the pass-through to get the connection question, because I know at least some of the elevators in Europe do not actually fit a fully stretched out gurney. So thanks.
And a follow up on what Dorsal said, a lot of the European elevators are actually like platforms that raise and lower. And the idea being that they fit into a small space and they make non-accessible places much more accessible. And so in the case where it's 4 steps down to get to the lower level entry, the gurneys would have had to navigate those 4 steps no matter what. But if you have a 4-foot platform that takes you up and down the 4 feet-ish, 3 feet of height difference, then the mere mortal who's trying to get home with a bunch of groceries would be able to get to their door without too much trouble.
Yeah, I had a question on this as well, but I think I'm guessing we may not have the right people for it. I was curious just what had changed, if anything. I think this came up last session and was defeated, so we kind of brought it back. And I wasn't sure if there were like substantive edits that helped make it something that people obviously had a very strong consensus around, or if it was just kind of the pre-work that the group did with, I think it was like the first responders and life safety community that opposed it the first time. So I'm just curious, like that, what sort of explains the change between last session and this session? If there's a story to share there. But again, I think we may not have the right people for that.
This is Kathy McCall with AARP. We worked really closely with Sightline on this bill last year and then this year, and we had the exact same concerns for obvious reasons, being with AARP, for older adults being able to have medical transport. And it was one of the significant issues, and we addressed it. I can't remember the specifics based on the question that I just heard. But I can go back. But it was something that we said, we're not going to let this thing go through until that is resolved. So there was work done on it, but again, I don't have the specifics, and I'm like running through all my files here, and I know I have a document, but I can't find it offhand.
Got it. Thank you for that.
Aaron, I think you outlined kind of exactly that, right? You always get that education year, you get more input from people now that you're visible, and then it makes it a better bill. And I do think I recall an argument being like, yes, it's not the same full-size elevator. And also, if there's 0 elevator in the building, those rescue workers will be going up the stairwells. And, that has the ability for, stretchers to be working. But again, it's a whole different hall to be able to do that, and a whole different time construct there as well. So yeah, maybe we'll get Sightline to come in and talk to us a little bit more about all of the details.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for the discussion there. Like I said, elevators get the room talking. The next bill here that was a support item that was a win was Senate Bill 6091, ensuring public availability of housing opportunities. Apparently, there was a practice that was happening with only marketing homeownership opportunities to exclusive groups. And I think an alarm was raised, rightfully so, and the Washington Realtors, Fair Housing Partners, and a lot of members of the BHI core team put their influence behind this bill. And so this was one of those bills that passed unanimously. So this is a one and done, and now any housing opportunity has to be marketed and broadcasted across the board, no exclusive, side chats about those opportunities. So anything to say about this bill or really how it helps move the needle with Black home ownership? But yeah, Cliff.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely does. In fact, so the private listing networks, those were exclusive or are rather um exclusive buyers networks, and given the history of exclusion and just the numbers, like more often than not, it's preventing people who could otherwise buy homes and upwardly mobile, socially mobile, or upwardly socioeconomically mobile neighborhoods from being able to buy there, or at least see their options. So this bill, by eliminating, or rather requiring these listings to appear on not just these networks but also the open market, is a major is a major victory for both transparency and desegregating our communities. So yeah, yeah. And also, of course, one of the major issues has been the housing shortage. And right now, we've made, and when I say we, I mean the state of Washington has made a lot of headway on providing down payment assistance and attempting to address some of the harms, both past and present. However, without supply, without homes for people to actually buy and live in, you know, what's going to happen? So, yeah, it's a good win.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Cliff. Anybody else? Okay, well, maybe head to the next slide since I know there are a lot of other bills we have to cover today. So here are two remaining support items. This was a split. We got a win and not yet. So House Bill 2304, this was something that Representative Taylor continued to do as kind of a carry on to her previous work. And I am not an insurance expert, but my understanding is that this ensures that the express warranty insurance option from the previous bill would include middle housing stack flats. And so this is a big deal. We know that many cities and places are creating more middle housing. We know stack flats are a great option that have been hard to achieve in the past. And this bill, I understand, just kind of decreases the ambiguities around insurance and liability. So I know that this is a very big deal because for a long time, this topic was too hot to the touch in order for legislators to tackle. But once again, Representative Taylor demonstrated a lot of courage in taking this on. And so congrats to everyone who worked on it. I don't know if Brady's on this call with HDC, but I think this was the bill that kept him up at night. And I think the idea is that this would allow more condos to come on the market since we know condos are a much more affordable first home option for folks, including those in the Black community. So any thoughts on this one?
Long time coming.
And
There we go.
very
Yeah.
needed.
There we go.
Here.
Yeah. So last but not least in this category of zoning and regulatory reform is Senate Bill 5496. This was a Senator Alvarado bill about limiting investor-owned homes. I think we had learned in a previous BHI policy call that there are places around the country where investors own a huge swath of the rental market. And so I think what Senator Alvarado is attempting to do is get ahead of that in our state because it's not quite the extent it was in other places. But this bill didn't make it all the way. It made it further than it did the previous year. But still, there was a lot of resistance to this bill from a lot of Republican leaders. So with a short session, it just didn't happen. But I think there's thoughts about bringing this back in the future. And again, if anybody has any clarifications or details they want to share about this bill, please go ahead.
And I'll just say I haven't touched base with Senator Alvarado yet to see what they're thinking about for next year. But again, the bill did get much further this year. And so, you know, we're excited to pick it up where it is, try and continue. It was really close to having the last vote it needed, but then when you get 12 amendments at the last minute, so that people definitely don't want to hear your bill and go through the 12 amendments, it's a kind of a tactic to run out the clock. And so in a short session, that can happen. I also did just want to add, in terms of flats and condos, there will be more work for 2027 for sure. So, you know, reach out to Brady. They are going to be meeting during the interim. Rep Taylor is going to make this a 3 for 3 and continue moving that forward. We should also be seeing the first bill, 1516, which was last year, had a study to look at permanently affordable homeownership options and having to do with insurance. The results from that study should be coming back, and that may also lead to another bill in 2027. So there will be condo work during the interim. And if you want to be in on that work, feel free to reach out to myself, reach out to Brady. And so thankful to Rep Taylor for taking this on. I definitely heard when I was listening to Floor vote, her colleagues thanking her so much because it's super complicated. and, you know, she's a lawyer, but this isn't her specialty. And she has now become kind of insurance specialist. And I don't know if she's going to shake that because I'm pretty sure everyone else wants her to do it. So we will continue to see reform for condominiums. And I hope that some of you will choose to be a part of that.
Bambi, please add Rico to that list as well.
Absolutely.
So
I just want, oh, go ahead, Kim.
circling back to 5496, I philosophically, the purpose of this bill, I'm totally aligned with. But if you think about targeted universalism, then the more positive, more likely to be successful bill that accomplishes kind of the same thing is a TOPA-COPA bill, which is that tenants are offered the first opportunity to purchase the property where they live, whether it's multifamily or single family. The first option goes to the tenants, and we have a lot of national markets. We have a lot of markets nationally that have TOPA-COPA bills and have had them for a long time. So we can pull the best stuff out and use that to write our bill.
That sounds great, Kim. It does sound like pina colada or some kind of tropical drink. I love it. But definitely everyone was talking about that a few years back and I hadn't heard it yet. So if you're in the interim starting to think about that priority ownership for those currently there, definitely let us know so that we can make sure that we, you know, advertise that opportunity if you're looking for more input.
Yeah, and just if this bill feels like it's difficult to enforce, and I know there are examples around the country that we can draw from, but rather than taking this negative approach, I would much prefer to take the positive approach and open the door for those least likely to try to purchase. And so yeah, if somebody wants to work on TOPA-COPA with me, I'm happy to spend some time doing that between now and next fall.
And Kathleen, I think I see your hand too.
I was just going to ask Kim if she had already channeled those comments to Senator Alvarado before strategy on her bill.
No, but that's on my list as soon as session is over, is to meet with Senator Alvarado and talk about, I mean, she and I were on the Low Income Housing Alliance board when we passed a targeted universal policy principle. And so I know that she is familiar with making it accessible to those least likely to pursue it. And then you end up with a much more level playing field for everyone. So yeah, I am going to reach out and have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I think, Senator Alvarado is pretty smart on strategy. And on the face of it, I think she's taking a different tact for a reason. So be interesting to hear her response to the suggestion of how to come at it from a different angle.
Well, and with all things policy, it might be a both and, right? They might be complementary concepts because, one is looking at whether people can be buying those up in the first place, not necessarily if they're going to sell them. They're just going to continue to rent or hold till they can gain more money. So there's definitely an intersection there, but it might be a great both and.
And Bambi, before I wrap up, I just want to correct or clarify what I just mentioned. When talking about investor-owned homes, I mentioned the rental market, but clearly this is a home ownership space, and the bill would apply to home ownership as well. So with that, I just want to thank you all for allowing me to take up this space in this meeting and for the great leadership of the folks in the room. So I'm going to turn that back over to Bambi.
Thanks so much for that, Sophie. I know everyone, that's kind of a lot of info to take in. I'm really happy that we're all kind of, coming in and out here and having comments to make it a little bit easier to digest. But again, we will record this, so you could always review, and you can always feel free to reach out with any questions you might have. We're going to move on to the 3 support bills that are in our cost reduction category that were active in this session. We did have a total of 5 bills in this category on our framework, but the 2 lead bills that are around property tax reform are still in progress, and they weren't active for the 2026 session. Again, bills in the cost reduction category. This one is about coordinating efforts to address regulations and practices that unnecessarily impede the development of or prevent access to homeownership opportunities. And the next presenter from our BHI Network Policy Strategy Group is going to be Mark Cote. Mark, take it away.
Hi. Can people hear me?
We can.
Great. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Cody. I'm the Executive Director of Parkview Services. Parkview works statewide to create inclusive housing solutions for people with intellectual and developmental disability, including homeownership. And we are a proud Black Home Initiative partner. Today, I want to run through the policy items in our cost reduction category. But before I begin, I want to point out that we have 3 support bills we have 1 winner, 1 loss, and 1 that's still in process. The first bill is Senate Bill 6162 by Senator Krishnananda Dazan. This bill expanded streamlined the senior citizen property tax exemption, providing tax relief for more seniors. The idea of the bill was to catch up with the raises in Social Security and retirement cost of living adjustments that were required to lower the number of people who qualify for senior tax exemption. The bill also streamlined the application process, which had lots of support from the assessors around the also it's a win. It passed. It's going to help a lot of people. And one thing, I was meeting with legislators about this bill, was questions coming up about, well, this is going to put the burden on other homeowners, the increase the property taxes for those that don't qualify for the exemption. So we got data from the Spokane County assessor and found that if the bill doubled the number of people that are qualified for the exemption, it would raise the property tax of the others that didn't qualify by 3%, which is in Spokane, that's about $141 a year. Okay, are there questions about this bill or? Yep.
This
Kathy?
is Kathy McCall with the AARP. So this was our top policy priority for this session. And we've been working on the senior property tax exemption for, oh my goodness, a decade. And this is a really significant bill. There's one of the other provisions in the bill that we also pushed for was the ability for people to rent out a room in their home and not have that income counted towards their income qualification limit. So they can actually, potentially receive $500 on average about a month. And that does not offset or impact their income eligibility. The other thing I wanted to make sure, we tried to put in a provision in this bill related to marketing, communication, and outreach. And I would really like to engage all of you. This program is significantly underutilized by income qualified older adults that would qualify. So I've heard from the assessors in some ways that it's only 40% of people that are eligible are using the program currently. That means 60% could access this. And we are also trying to figure out how to, make it easier. We had also looked at a standardized intake form, which the assessors, I thought they were going to lose their mind when I brought that up. And because they don't trust the state to do that work. But trying to figure out some kind of gateway to help older adults to immediately figure out if they're income eligible for this program or not. The other thing that was really significant, as you mentioned, the assessors, and a lot of the pushback we heard is just, this is a cost shift for taxation. And they said, no, it's not. It costs us far more money to foreclose on somebody if they have not been paying their property taxes, or figure out a tax solution for them, or if they do go into foreclosure or bankruptcy, and we're seeing this increasing trend among older adults, that it costs them more to stabilize them in either subsidized housing, temporary transitional housing, or what have you. And so they just said that that was not a concern for the assessor. So again, my ask is that if everybody just could really help push this program out and make sure, your communities know about this availability, because it's just completely underutilized, and it's something that allows people to age in place and stay in their homes as long as possible. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? I will say one thing, it's really significant. I mean, it turns a $7,000 property tax bill to like $1,800. So it helps great deal. The next bill I'll talk about is Senate Bill 6162 by that's the one I just talked about, 1717 by Representative Levitt. The bill tackles the expense of building new affordable homes. These homes are being built with public subsidy, and they are subject to sales and use tax for their construction supplies. But by incurring these taxes, we limit what could have been done with the public subsidy. The bill asked to have a portion of sales and use tax refunded to the public purpose developer so that they could use those funds to get more units built and reduce the cost of the units for their buyers. Are there questions or comments on that bill?
This is Amanda with the Affordable Housing Consortium. I just wanted to say, I think this is like the second or third year we've been trying to run this bill, and it looks like it came so close, but just didn't quite make it over the finish line for whatever reason. So yeah, still hoping that this will get through, because this would be really impactful for our affordable housing developers.
Other questions or comments?
I just wanted to
Okay,
say
go ahead.
about this, that I hear a rumor that this didn't move forward because of some behind the scenes disagreements. Wasn't anything on the face of the bill. It was pettiness on the behalf of some of our legislative officials, and that just concerns me that that good bills get held up for dumb reasons. and cost whole sector money. And, because we're just going to have to come back and come at it again next year. So I don't know if there's anything that we can or should be doing about that. Maybe that's just life as we now know it, but that there wasn't anything wrong with the bill. It was politics. So
Jason?
Yeah, this bill was has been a priority for us for 2 years. We've worked with the sponsor on this to craft the original version, to craft this version. And I'll just Kathleen is correct. That's the rumor at Olympia that this bill passed unanimously out of the House. It was widely supported in committee. So just as a note, I'm sure this will be a priority for us again next year. We'll continue to work on it. I do feel confident in its passage next year when folks forget the things of this session. And so I hope I'll just plug for next year. I hope this remains on a priority agenda, BHI next year. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. The last bill I want to talk about today is 5647. That's Senator Alvarado's bill. The bill is somewhat of a cleanup bill that is looking to expand a statute that provides a real estate excise tax for self-help affordable homeownership like that of Habitat for Humanity to all other nonprofit affordable homeownership models that do not have a self-help aspect. The bill was led by the Community Land Trust organizations, and after it failed to meet the cutoff for passage for the physical committee in the opposite chamber, it was declared necessary to implement the budget. This means that the bill has until the formal end of the session today to find passage through the budget process. Does anyone have any information about that bill?
yeah,
and its status?
it wasn't. The amendment to make this NTIB wasn't included in the budget legislation, so it is dead.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments or questions about the bill? Great. Okay. I'll turn it back to Bambi. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Mark. We're doing pretty good on time. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with our bills in our land acquisition and value capture category. So bills in this category substantially increase tools that capture land value through acquisition and assemblage to preserve affordability and to stave off displacement. And the next presenter from our BHI Network Policy Strategy Group is Amanda DeShazo. Amanda, I'm going to go ahead and run the slides here. Let me know if you want any changes, but take it away.
Yeah, thanks. It looks great. I won't be on camera today, sorry, but you can see my picture. That is what I look like. So good afternoon. I'm Amanda DeShazo. I'm the Executive Director of the Tacoma Pierce County Affordable Housing Consortium. I've been with my agency about 8 years now. We've been around for 20. So as a housing consortium, we have members who span a variety of sectors and come together around the belief that all residents of Tacoma Pierce County deserve access to decent, safe, high quality, affordable housing. We're also very proud to be a BHI partner and bring voices from our Tacoma Pierce County communities into our network efforts. And so today I have the pleasure of running through the policy items in our land acquisition and value capture category. And I'm happy to say that we've got a lead item in this category that was active in the 2026 legislative session, and that we'll be able to count it as another win in the framework. Congratulations. And that's House Bill 1974 by Representative Natasha Hill. So we all know that land is foundational to housing and community development, and yet sites are limited. Competition is driving prices higher, and our public purpose developers are losing capacity, chasing after and managing land. So our history of discrimination has also kept small and emerging BIPOC developers limited in their access to development opportunities. So now authorized land banks will use a comprehensive framework to assemble, hold, manage, and improve properties, and then transfer them at minimal cost to public purpose developers. So this will increase the fairness and access and help communities meet their local housing and home ownership goals. This bill just completed concurrence in the House yesterday and will now receive signatures in the legislature and move forward to the governor. The governor has been a strong supporter of this bill, and we expect him to sign enthusiastically. I also want to give a shout out to anybody that's on the call that did testimony for that bill. There were several opportunities and folks came forward to do that, so thank you. And before we move to the next one, does anybody have any comments or questions about the bill?
I'll just say yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had to do a lot of work around this bill. Super excited to everyone who had participated in the stakeholder group and in the work group that happened before session. It was about 70 people to inform this bill. As you all know, the housing benefits districts bills that happened for a number of years in a row and never went anywhere were kind of the precursor to this. And so we are very excited to see something pass. And thank you all to everyone who did either send in written testimony or, provide their testimony in person or remotely. Amanda, you did that. Kathleen, others in this space. And thank you all so much.
Yeah, thanks, Bambi. Yeah, this is a great bill. We're really excited about it here in Pierce County too. So looking forward to, I think I need to dive a little bit more into the policy specifics around it and see how we can really start using that bill here in Pierce County. Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. So we'll move on to the next bill, which is House Bill 2610 by Representative Street. Is that right? Representative Street. This bill allows nonprofit housing providers to keep their property tax exemption while holding land for future construction, even if the property is temporarily used for community purposes. This ensures that our neighborhoods stay active and engaged while awaiting the construction of affordable homes and provides a new temporary community asset. The bill staves off blight and vandalism by allowing the nonprofit housing provider to steward the land responsibly as construction is planned. The bill received strong support during its House and Senate votes and has been delivered to the governor for his signature. Kathleen, I see your hand. Yes, please tell us about the bill.
Yeah, it was actually Senator Trudeau that was the prime sponsor, and then we got support in the House. We're really grateful for all the shepherding of this. It went through surprisingly easily, but it was partly because it was very narrowly focused on just home ownership. So the fiscal note on it was really small. But this was related to our project in Pierce County at the 1105 MLK property, and we're really grateful for this. It's going to have a direct impact on the bottom line of that project and hopefully support other homeownership developers as well. It's also a platform for other affordable housing developers to come in and expand the protection of the exemption for other forms of affordable housing. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen, for doing that. That's huge. Congratulations. Really. I'm so glad that it's going to help with your guys' project too. I know there was a similar bill that I was working on with our lobbyist that was around holding land for nonprofit rentals, but it didn't move forward this year. So yeah, hopefully we can pick it up and add to it through this bill. So thanks again, Kathleen. Any other questions or comments on this bill? Okay, I'm not hearing any, so we'll move on to the last one. Last bill in the category is House Bill 1443 by Representative Gregerson. This bill was introduced in 2025 and made it through the House Policy and Fiscal Committees, but did not get a House floor vote. The bill did not get to a House floor vote this year either, or Bambi, that must be, sorry. As BHI, we're interested in supporting this bill because of the help it could provide existing homeowners. A mobile dwelling unit or a tiny house on wheels is a quick and economical way for homeowners to convert extra yard space into a new source of rental income or provide an affordable housing option for family members and caregivers. The group behind this bill was Sightline Institute, and they did a great job of creating new materials and videos about the concept. And I'm sure it'll be back in 2027 to see if the third time's the charm. So does anyone have any comment to add about this bill before we move forward?
Just that there's a real life story on Camino Island of someone who could no longer stay in the home that they'd had built and had lived in for more than 30 years. They were too sick. And their options were to illegally move into a friend's RV and stay in the community where they had lived for so many years, or move off the island, become socially isolated from all of their friends and support network, but be living in a legal dwelling. And I feel like we should be gathering stories to back this, because everybody gets all foobarred about old RVs sitting in the driveway of their neighbors' houses, except that there's a reason why it is a viable option, and we just need to make it legal and safe. And if it's always going to be illegal, then it's not really ever going to be safe either. So I kind of would encourage everyone to gather a story, put it in writing, and let's convene before next session to get these stories pulled together, because I think this is an important piece of safety, security, and community.
Thanks, Kim. Kathy.
This is Kathy McCall again with AARP. So this was a bill that we were really, really excited about at first, and then we started reading it and started realizing kind of the real world impacts on it. And we worked with Sightline, we worked with Representative Gregerson over the interim to try to see if we could get it a little bit better scope, I guess. And we were not coming to an agreement, and it was too broad. And we started hearing a lot from individuals that wanted this kind of, availability of housing, and from older adults, just like the story you shared, Kim. But at the same time, we were hearing from people really concerned about, just people going too far, and that some of these mobile dwellings were not safe. They, were out of date, out of compliance with all sorts of kinds of electrical, gas hookups, water hookups, all sorts of stuff that was just a mess. And so there's a lot of work, I think, that needs to be done on this bill, but I think that it has huge potential.
Thank you. We'll keep an eye on it moving forward, but I appreciate you sharing your feedback on that, Kathy. Okay, BMB, that was all that we had.
Thanks so much for that, Amanda. We're now going to move into the last category that we have in our framework, and that is funding. So bills in this category expand public grants that finance affordable home construction to create sustainable homeownership opportunities. And the next presenter from our strategy group is Ryan Donahue. Ryan, whenever you are ready.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry, I want to start off really by apologizing. We have really spotty internet right now in the office. So I am actually connected to this through my phone, which I've never done before. So I may screw it up, and I apologize if I do. With that being said, a lot of things happened this year, especially on the funding side. Actually, let me back up. As you know, my name is Ryan Donahue. I'm the Chief Advocacy Officer over at Habitat Seattle, King and Kittitas counties. Also happen to be our proud BHI partners and members, and we continue to encourage and are happy to be able to add more to the conversation that we're here now. Let's start off with some of the support bill things. First off, HB 2523. This was a bill sponsored by Representative Reeves. The goal is really trying to refine of this bill, or was to refine the community reinvestment program, trying to focusing specifically on community voice and equitable outcomes while actually codifying the program so it can be able to continue to develop without as much of a risk of being potentially ended. There's a lot of support on both the House and the Senate floors, but it did require a really big lift by the Washington Build Back Black Alliance, say that 10 times fast, and community members who spoke to the importance of this program for marginalized communities across the area. I want to take a quick second. I don't know if Paula is on the call here, Paula with Washington Build Back Black Alliance, but I really want to take a second and highlight a ton of work that she put in and her group put in there to elevate that bill in particular and help get this across the finish line. She practically single-handedly threw it over her shoulder like like she was playing it or like in a tug of war match and just dragged that thing all over across the finish line. So she was really a rock star on this bill, and I really want to take a second to recognize that. This program will be able to create, hopefully, at least the intention of the program, is creating lasting economic benefits and building or wealth building opportunities. The program actually is currently accepting applications for homeownership directions right now. And I imagine a number of folks, including we at Habitat, are taking a look at that and seeing if there are opportunities for us to be able to apply. Good luck, because I think the deadline is on Monday. So definitely get your applications in. The bill is on the governor's desk and is waiting a signature. Any questions or comments to add about 2523? All right, continuing on is another success. This one is 5938. It's a Senate bill. Senator Orwell bill. It was actually already mentioned earlier today, particularly around the foreclosure fairness fee, the cleanup bill that I know Washington Homeownership Resource Center was a big champion for, as well as others, to really try and get this, essentially doing a cleanup bill, addressing some of the things that were done in the previous year. Clarified some of the exemptions and how it was paid. It allows Commerce to do some future rulemaking in order to be able to manage it. A relatively simple bill. The Senate actually supported the bill unanimously. The House decided to do it, split it down party lines. Regardless, the bill has gone through the entire legislature and is on its way to the governor's desk. So big win there. Anybody would like to add anything on that in particular? Cool. People are glad that I'm rolling through things, it sounds like. All right. Continuing on is 2442. This one was a House bill by Representative Berg, who is the sponsorship. This bill went through some, shall we say, evolution and kind of worked its way through a couple of different kind of process here. The homeownership component of it actually ended up getting a little minimized in the way that it kind of spelled out. It ended up being more about rental and supportive housing and other non-housing related services. It's important to note that it is possible that none of the fund flexibility in this bill will end up going towards affordable homeownership, but we're going to end up seeing how jurisdictions end up implementing this bill. So regardless, something to kind of note here. But this bill did pass. I believe it is on its way to the governor's desk as well. I don't 100% know that for sure, but I imagine it is. Most bills haven't quite been signed yet. And so, yeah, any questions, comments, notes that anybody would like to add about 2442? Look at this. We're just rolling through. All right. On to the last support bill. Sadly, this one did not end up passing. This is Senate Bill 6028, a revolving loan fund for permanently affordable mixed income homes. Senator Alvarado was the prime sponsor here. She had decided that she wanted to do some work to try and create an opportunity to provide low interest loans from a revolving loan fund for smaller infill projects that would create permanent affordability. Got through the Senate Housing Committee, but it ended up dying in the Fiscal in Ways and Means Committee, primarily due to a concern about how to fund it. which is not surprising, particularly in a really tight budget year. I imagine this bill will continue to generate some interest and continue to have conversations around it. I know I am hoping that it will be picked up and tried again in 2027, hopefully with some more success. And we will see how that goes. Does anybody have any comments, questions, thoughts, things they want to note there? Or is everyone just really excited to hear about the Housing Capital Fund, capital budget stuff that ended up finishing? I see Jason has a question. Thank you, Jason.
Just bailing you out here, Ryan. But no, yeah, I mean, obviously 1628 just needs capital budget money, supplemental year, difficult to get up. You all know this, but we're really interested and excited about this. I know Senator Alvarado kind of did this one on her own a little bit from what I understand this year. So I guess to Habitat and a land trust and other folks on the call, just hoping that there can be a bit of a sort of coordinated push next year to get this bill passed and funded, working with the commission. So just, again, another plug for 2027 and working together. I think this is a good idea that I think has the ability to provide some, low interest capital to get projects moving in the mixed income space. So looking forward to working on this next year.
Absolutely. Kim.
I want to, thank you, Ryan, for walking us through the history on these bills, but also on this revolving loan fund. I echo what Jason said. And I think that just as CLTs all over the country are having to look at more and more diverse income models and inventory models, that the idea of having mixed income homes that can be built with a revolving loan fund that is somewhat subsidized by the state, I think this is an idea whose time is overdue. And so I look forward to helping put it back together for next year. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Kathleen.
I just want to remind everybody that that this started out from Senator Alvarado as something that she was trying to do for the for-profit, for the community, not for affordable housing. She's trying to incentivize for-profit builders to do permanently affordable homes. So I think the enthusiasm for moving something forward in the next session around this, I think we all need to make sure that we're on the same page about the objectives of it. No question that we could all use more, debt products for development, but just want to make sure that we're getting behind the right tool to do that.
Thank you very much. Anything else that anybody else wants to comment or provide a comment or anything on when it comes to this? All right, let's keep on moving to, let's be honest, what everyone really wants to know, which is the results of the capital budget. I'm really excited about that because the capital budget is always one of the things that I focus most of my time and effort and energy on. This year was a supplemental budget year, and let's be honest, it was really good. I think largely speaking, this is the largest supplemental budget allocation that homeownership has ever seen. I'll note that's not necessarily a super high bar, but it is a really exciting thing to be able to see. And we're continuing to push this upwards over and over and over again every year. I'll note Governor Fergus, as you can kind of see there on the slide, the governor's proposal originally was $73 million. The House proposed 65. The Senate ended up proposing 38.8. And at the end of the day, as things were kind of running out, it ended up being the version that got shared out late night last night. And I do want to emphasize late night. I think I was literally at dinner with my partner and a friend when it actually dropped at like 7:15, 7:30 last night when the actual final version dropped. That ended up having $55 million for competitively allocated affordable homeownership dollars, which, again, as I noted, is a record number for a supplemental year and sets a overall record for a biennium as well. I think it's roughly 130 million in competitive dollars for affordable home ownership across an entire biennium. That's really exciting. It shows a lot of momentum, as Cliff kind of alluded to earlier in the day. It shows a lot of momentum and support for affordable home ownership funding, and is a lot of really great stuff there. So want to, basically they're going to be voting on that, I think, in concurrence, essentially making that final vote later today. So fingers crossed there isn't some degree of shenanigans that makes something go wrong, because you never know. And I really hope everyone is knocking on some wood, quite literally right now. Hopefully you heard me knocking on some wood right now as well. And we will, so just to kind of open it up, any questions, thoughts, comments when it comes to the capital budget, which is pretty darn good.
Well, I'll just add that,
Awesome. Thank you, Bambi.
you bet.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And just to add on there, there was a letter sent out that was worked between the Habitats and the CLTs, really just highlighting for legislators, we want to see robust support. Here's how much money we had for last year or for projects that we could all apply for, and here is how many projects were left on the table. And so, I think being able to really see those numbers, knowing that there's a very active sector that is looking to begin to build those homes, was a really great advocacy act. And, that sign-on letter had a lot of impact, and pretty excited to see that number last night when I opened this up. I read and reread. I was like, wait a minute, am I in the right page? Is it the correct line? Because that's fabulous. They kind of just met at the middle there between the House and the Senate, and 100% we'll take it. So thank you all for all of your advocacy, for signing up for that sign-on letter, for sending comments to your legislators. We're going to keep with this momentum and continue to see these really, bright horizons for homeownership funding in the Housing Trust Fund.
Awesome.
And thank
you
you
very
so
much, Bambi.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ryan, for taking care of that. And I hope that you get your electricity going. I know some people have been affected by the storm last night. So, hopefully you don't have too many more presentation phone calls via phone today. But you did a great job. So we've made it 18 bills later. And now it's time to just kind of open the floor. If you have something to share for the good of the whole, if there's just, something you've wanted to reflect on, but maybe we kind of move forward to the next thing, feel free to bring it back now. Or if there is something that's coming up that you're excited about, feel free to let us know. Floor is open.
I oh sorry. Oh sorry.
Go ahead,
I'll
Mark.
just one thing about the Senator Orwell's bill, last year was passed with the fee, and now it's been some issues with it got fixed, but that bill really has transformed the housing counseling space in Washington State by really generating, funds to sustain the network. It's a huge positive thing for Washington.
It is hard to get a repeating fund. It is hard to get a revenue source that does not have to get meddled with every single year. So really excited that you all were able to kind of clean up some unintended consequences and make sure you have a really strong funding source moving forward.
Yeah.
Sophie?
I just want to extend gratitude at this moment for being a tireless leader in the space. So thank you, Bambi, but also all of the Black and African American leaders who have helped shape the conversation and push things ahead. And I'm just grateful to be, part of their movement. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Sophie. Any other parting thoughts today as we move forward? It is Thursday. It is almost Friday. I hope some of you will come raise a glass with me if possible at Stoop tomorrow from 4 to 6. And it is a Friday the 13th, so what else can you do to get rid of Friday the 13th energy than celebrate? So I hope to see some of you there. Any last thoughts from anyone else? Just wanted to let you know on the horizon, we'll be moving out of kind of that state focus, and those will start to turn into conversations that people will be doing and that interim. I hope you all give yourself like a moment and just take a little break from legislating for the second, give our legislators just a little reprieve, and then get right back into it so that 2027 is going to be another great year for homeownership. Which also means that when we meet again next month, we're going to move into some of the things on our framework that are not state oriented. We'll be thinking about City of Seattle. We'll be thinking about King County and other processes that are out there. So if you have something that you really would love to have on that agenda or the agenda in May, please reach out. And for some of you, I may see you on the 31st of March at the HDC annual celebration. We will have our strategy group members tabling at that event, so you can come up and meet them and say hello, and would love to see if you're going to be there. Ryan? Ryan, you have your hand up. You may or may not mean to.
Sorry. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. See, this is what happens when I don't know weird phone things. I apologize. I should have raised my hand earlier, and I apologize. Wanted to just flag for anybody who is interested, just as a note, we at Habitat Seattle, King Kittitas County, actually have an opening for a advocacy and policy manager. If you happen to know anybody who would be good to be able to help be a good advocate to help support affordable home ownership across the continuum and particularly would love to be able to work with us at at Habitat for Humanity, would love to have them. Please have them go ahead and apply. You can see that on our website, the posting and how to apply and all that stuff. I just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Well, there couldn't be a more apropos need for a position out of this group. So yeah, glad you got that in. All right, everyone. Well, there's a few more minutes till our time is scheduled to be together, but let's give them back to you. Take those 5 or 6 minutes, hydrate, do what you need to take care of yourself. So great to see you all and see you again in April.